The notion of Napoleon Bonaparte successfully invading Britain is one of the great what-ifs of history. Despite his ambitions, the French emperor never managed to cross the English Channel and bring Britain under his control. However, had the invasion occurred, the consequences would have been profound, not only for Britain but for Europe and the world at large. This video explores what might have happened if Napoleon had successfully invaded Britain. For Napoleon to have successfully invaded Britain, he would have had to overcome the formidable barrier of the English Channel, which was heavily patrolled by the Royal Navy. His first challenge would have been assembling a fleet capable of transporting his Grande Armée across the Channel while fending off British naval forces. To achieve this, Napoleon would have likely needed to secure a significant naval victory, possibly by coordinating with the Spanish fleet or achieving a decisive win at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. Assuming he overcame these challenges, Napoleon's landing in Britain would have been an extraordinary military feat. The French forces, numbering around 100,000 troops, would likely have landed on the southern coast, perhaps near Dover or Portsmouth, where fortifications were weakest. The British, caught off guard, would have had to hastily assemble their forces to defend their homeland. Once ashore, Napoleon's forces would have swiftly moved towards London, the heart of British power. The British army, though brave, was smaller and less experienced than the seasoned veterans of the Grande Armée. The French would likely have won a series of early victories, pushing the British forces back and sowing panic across the country. London's fall would have been almost inevitable within weeks of the invasion. The city's capture would have been a symbolic and strategic victory for Napoleon, shattering British morale and leaving the nation leaderless. The British government, possibly including King George III, might have fled to Scotland or even across the Atlantic to Canada to continue the resistance. Napoleon's control of Britain would have had far-reaching consequences for the British Empire. With Britain under French control, its global empire, including colonies in North America, India, and the Caribbean, would have been vulnerable to French influence or outright seizure. France, already a dominant power in Europe, would have expanded its reach to encompass Britain's colonial holdings, reshaping global trade and power dynamics. The Royal Navy, the backbone of British imperial power, would likely have been significantly weakened by the invasion. With Britain no longer able to maintain its maritime dominance, Napoleon might have turned his attention to consolidating French control over the seas, challenging other powers like Spain, Portugal, and even the United States. A successful invasion of Britain would have fundamentally altered the balance of power in Europe. Without British financial and military support, the various coalitions that opposed Napoleon would have crumbled. Austria, Prussia, and Russia, left without their key ally, might have been forced to negotiate peace on Napoleon's terms, solidifying his control over Europe. The Napoleonic Code, a set of laws that spread across much of Europe during Napoleon's conquests, would have likely been imposed in Britain as well. This would have marked a dramatic shift in British society, replacing centuries of common law with French legal principles. Additionally, the continental system, Napoleon's economic blockade against Britain, would have been enforced, further isolating the British economy from the rest of Europe. In the long term, a French-controlled Britain would have significantly altered the course of world history. The Industrial Revolution, which was in its early stages in Britain, might have been stifled under French rule, delaying technological progress. The spread of British culture, language, and institutions across the globe would have been curtailed, with French influence taking its place. Napoleon's eventual downfall, however, would still have been possible. The vastness of his empire, combined with the inevitable resistance from conquered peoples, could have led to overextension and rebellion, similar to what happened in Spain and Russia. Britain might have eventually regained its independence, but its status as a global superpower would have been forever diminished. If Napoleon had invaded and conquered Britain, the ripple effects would have transformed the world in ways that are difficult to fully grasp. The global balance of power, cultural influences, and technological progress would have been profoundly different, leaving us to ponder how close history came to taking a radically different path.